Hello gamers from around the world, this is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of the World of Gaming, the #1 podcast where we break down everything that happens in gaming Dutch. And this week we are doing it on a Sunday, which is very unusual for us, because typically we go live on Thursdays, but we had massive issues last Thursday.
Yeah.
We've been doing the podcast for what now? 3.5 years or so? 4 years maybe?
4 years, yeah.
Yeah, 4 years, and we've never had that. The tool we are using as a lobby here went down, and we thought it is on my end first. We thought it's maybe the internet connection or whatever, but it turns out their servers were down, and hence we couldn't do a podcast on Thursday. And that's why we're doing a very rare Sunday podcast. Nevertheless, I'm excited to talk about all the stuff, Dutch, because, usually the week after showcase season, E3 season, whatever you want to call it, is exciting, and so is this week, and we've got plenty of topics to discuss. But first, I want to welcome our awesome community. I see a lot of familiar names already in the chat. A big welcome to you guys. Great to see you here on this Sunday evening. Happy Father's Day to our friends in the United States. Is it Father's Day in the UK here today too, Dutch?
Yeah, I do believe it is, yeah.
Because we had Father's Day in Germany like 2 weeks ago, so I wasn't aware that it's Father's Day for the folks from America and apparently the UK. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers, and again a big welcome. And Dutch, my man, now I'm getting to you. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. We were just discussing this before we went live. It's super warm today, so sweating my balls off currently. And I'm just wearing shorts and this t-shirt, this football top. So
you know what?
And I'm still sweating.
You need to come to Germany. We had 35 degrees here today. It's like
I'd love to know what temperature it is in here, but it's 20 outside, so
20 is like cold.
20 is fine, but I think it's about 30 odd in this room.
Okay. Yeah, man, I've been sweating all day. It's a massive heat wave we have right now here in the south of Germany. But anyway, we are not here to discuss the weather, Dutch. We are here to discuss gaming, the games we play, and all the news that came out this weekend. We always start our podcast with the most important thing in gaming, and that are the games that we are playing. So everyone in the chat, let us know what you guys have been playing, and Dutch, what kept you busy these last few days?
Yeah. So I've just been chilling a little bit. I played a little bit on the Switch too, just a little bit of Pokemon, and then over to the Xbox where I have been playing Expedition 33. I'm up to the Paintress at the moment. Still loving that. Really good game.
I've been doing a few it is like the end of the act, right?
Mm-hmm.
But be aware, it's not.
No, I know. But before I got up to the Paintress, I was going around killing a few of the world bosses and a few of the side optional bosses and things like that. So I was doing some of the sidey stuff. And then went to the Monolith and went to the Paintress.
Sweet.
So working through that at the minute. And then I also had a chance to check out a little bit of the Alters on PC. I just installed it there.
Oh, how is it?
It's really good. Really good. It's very intriguing. I think you'll enjoy it. It's
I have downloaded it on the Ally and the Xbox, but I haven't started it yet. So
Yeah, it's a mixture between kind of sim and resource management, and action adventure and RPG and
Okay.
kind of a mixture between it all. But it's got a very intriguing story. Yeah, I think you'll like it. I haven't played too much of it yet. And then I jumped onto Aura for several hours today because, as you know, with any kind of strategy game, you can't, like, one game lasts forever.
Yes.
Almost. So it's not just, you can't just jump on for a quick game. So I played that for a little while.
How are you
It's
feeling
all
about
right.
Ara?
It's okay. It's okay. I'm a big, as you know, we're big Age fans, so
Yeah.
it takes a lot to get anything anywhere near that when it comes to any form of strategy games or anything. And yeah, it's okay. I think it doesn't. The method in which you can increase your age quick enough, as fast as the AI does, isn't truly explained. Nor do I don't think you can physically improve everything as quick as you want to in order to progress as quick as you want to on that game, and you're consistently getting into diplomatic wars and declaring war on you, and then you have to bribe them to stop, and then or bribe others to declare war on someone else. And even if you have a pact with another alliance where they're meant to come to your defense, if you get attacked, they don't turn up. Nobody helps you. So I'm like,
Okay.
what is the point in an alliance? Because nobody actually comes to help you with troops if you do, and you can't request them to send troops if they've got a good relationship with that country either. So they're like, oh yeah, we'll defend you against any invaders. And then if they have a good relationship with the person that's invading you, they're just like, no, you're not allowed to send troops. So it's useless.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So I mean, it's all right. It's all right. I might have another play around with it at some point, but I've just uninstalled it and reinstalled the alters for the moment. So I'm just gonna play that on PC.
Sweet. I'm still surprised that you can put down Expedition 33 because when I played that, I couldn't stop until I finished.
I'm taking it in little bite-sized chunks.
But the
I did play
beauty
it
is when you play
I did play
continuously,
it for a
you
stint.
learn the little tricks, you know, how to parry properly, to dodge properly, which combos work best for you. And if you play it in little chunks, you might forget those things until you
Nah,
pick it up again.
I've sussed it now. My characters have got a lot of their final moves now, and their extreme moves and things like that. So we're starting to do some good damage. All in like mid-40s, early 50s in terms of levels.
Okay.
So I'm all right. I'm all right. No, I'm really enjoying it. I mean, yesterday I did play about 6-7 hours of it, so I did play quite a chunk all in one. But today I thought I'm going to try Aura and I'm going to try the alters a bit. So that's what I did.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, again, I have downloaded the altars, but I haven't played it yet because I had a game, or I bought a game that sucked me in, and that is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, man. I have been holding off on that game because I played the first one, and while I did really enjoy the story and the world and what they did in the first one, I absolutely hated the combat in the first one.
Yeah.
And that's why I wasn't sure, but it is on sale at the moment. At least the Super Golden Deluxe version, not the standard version, but the Super Special Golden Super Duper Edition is actually cheaper than the base game. And
yeah,
so I bought that, and man, the combat still sucks. And I wonder why, because everything else in the game is absolutely phenomenal. And I just wonder how you can make such an absolutely epic and awesome game and then put in a combat system that is that shitty. It's like, it's probably the worst combat I have ever experienced in any game. Luckily, you do not
you're really
combat
selling it
damage.
here, Boxy.
getting to I want to get the negative out of the way first.
The fighting is the worst in the ever game forever, always. There's no
And
no
that's the
worse
nicest thing I can say about the combat. But everything else is absolutely phenomenal. And the good thing is you do not fight a lot. It's not like one of these RPGs, I don't know, if you think about Skyrim or I don't know, any RPG where you have like enemies around every corner. It's like you can play hours without a single fight. That's not because you do stealth and avoid combat or so. It's just not. It's not a combat focused game, and that's a good thing, because this game does something really special with its world. It plays in medieval Germany, and that's, by the way, one of the reasons why I usually play my games in English, in the native language, but because a lot of stuff usually gets lost in translation. But this feels much more authentic when you play it in German, So it's one of the rare games I do play in German. It's medieval Germany. I have probably never seen a more believable world in a video game. Like the simulation of the world when you go through these medieval villages into the medieval castles. It's like you are actually there. It's the villagers, they live their daily lives, they interact with you, they react to stuff you did in another village. It is so phenomenal and so well done. You can do like tons of stuff. If it's I can't think from the top of my head of another game that allows you to do so many things. There's literally nothing in that game you cannot do. It's from washing your clothes to growing your own weeds to like everything. It's absolutely phenomenal. And the story is amazing so far. I'm about, I want to say 15 hours, maybe 20, somewhere in that ballpark in now. And it is absolutely awesome. The writing is fantastic. It's really intriguing. You really want to know what happens next. The side stuff is amazing. Like, while every side quest is optional, of course, almost every side quest I've played somehow still ties into the main story and impacts things in the main story. Like, I helped an old lady to bury her husband, her brother, properly because he was falsely accused 30 years ago of suicide. In the medieval ages, people that committed suicide were not given a proper burial, and so I helped that woman. It was a side quest to bury the bones of her deceased brother properly in a graveyard. And like 3 main story missions later, I was at a wedding in the main quest, and that the daughter of that lady was one of the kitchen maids. And if I wouldn't have helped that lady, I would not have been able to solve the main quest in the way how I did it. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but like things like that, it's everything is somehow tied together, every side quest, and this is just such a phenomenal experience. Truly, I'm surprised. And besides the world building and writing and the gameplay outside of the combat, which is all fantastic, it's got to be one of the most beautiful games I've seen. Like, it's running on CryEngine, and Dutch, I'm not sure why not more studios use that engine. It is insanely beautiful. Some of the landscape shots, it's real, look almost photorealistic. Like, from the lighting to texture work to detail in foliage and everything, it looks absolutely stunning. So Kingdom Come Deliverance truly surprised me, and I'm so addicted here. And that's why I'm a little surprised that our awesome community hasn't voted here for Kingdom Come, but they want to see Doom: The Dark Ages gameplay today. So it's up to the community. I'm gonna leave the poll up for another minute or two, but I'm a little surprised here. So yeah, that's what I've played, and I haven't played anything else. Let us see what has the Fatboy Horror in the chat says. Isn't CryEngine absolutely resource hungry? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It still runs at 60 FPS on the Series X though, and looks phenomenal. There's also quality mode at 30 FPS that looks even more stunning. It is a powerful engine, but it's worth it, man. It is looking absolutely stunning. All right, Dutch, let us see what the community has been playing. Sith Lord says he has been playing Mario Kart all week. I know, Sith Lord, you are absolutely loving your Switch 2. Dutch, have you played much on your Switch 2?
Yeah. Usually, because I can take it out of its dock and not sit here and play it on the TV, I'd usually either play it downstairs for a little bit after I've had breakfast, or sit and play it in bed for an hour or so before I go to sleep.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on Mario Kart World?
Yeah, I dig it. It's a little bit more like Crash Team Racing, where you've got a nice open worldy kind of thing to explore and do kind of challenges and little mini events and things on, and there's like big cross-country event things on where it's kind of point-to-point racing where you go through a few different biomes all at once. But no, it's really cool. I'm digging it. I'm digging it quite a bit. I still haven't played multiplayer yet, and I said I will, because both Jen and Pat have got one. So at some point I will jump on and play some Mario Kart with them.
Sweet. The online clips I've seen posted on Twitter, people are doing the most crazy shit already in Mario Kart World.
Yeah, because they've got wall riding and grinding on rails and things on Mario now, and flips and stuff. So yeah, it's I've seen some really ridiculous shortcuts and things that people take.
Yeah, absolutely. Fatboy Horror has been playing Cyberpunk on the Switch too. Nice. I hear it runs actually really well on the Switch too. I know you've been debating on whether to get Cyberpunk on the Switch.
Yeah, I probably will. I know Jen's picked it up as well.
Yeah.
Jen's picked it up. I probably will. I've got, like I say, I've got The Witcher on the Switch. And that runs really well.
It ran surprisingly well on the old Switch already.
Yeah.
The Witcher 3.
Yeah. So I will do. I mean, at the minute, it's just mainly Pokemon. To be fair, I've got a couple of third-party games on there. I'll have a look. I've got Mario Kart, Pokemon Scarlet, Legends Arceus, Diamond, Sword, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Witcher, Hellblade, Octopath Traveler, The Last Remnant Remastered, Minecraft Dungeons, and I've got a few others, Crash Team Racing, and a few indie games.
Nice.
So, yeah. Yeah, I do want to get a few. I mean, I've got a lot in my wish list. Ooh, fucking hell. Got a lot on my wish list, to be fair. As you can probably imagine, I've got a lot of the more up and comings in there.
I can imagine. All right, Dutch.
So I've got Metroid. I still haven't picked up Metroid Prime Remastered, and I'm going to.
I have finished it, and it's fantastic.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, of course, is in the wish list.
Coming when, October or so?
Yeah.
It's
Pokemon
be
Legends.
The last game I'm going to play on the old Switch.
Yep. Donkey Kong Bonanza.
When is that?
And of course, I've wish listed quite a few other things. Donkey Kong is coming out next month or this month? Next month, 17th of July. Pokemon's October. And then we've got Metroid Prime at some point as well. Yeah, there's quite a few. There's quite a few on my wish list.
I can imagine, man. I can imagine.
So yeah.
I'm going to put on Doom the Dark Ages gameplay, and let's see what else the community has been playing. So Fatboy Horror played Cyberpunk on the Switch 2. Agent X-Force is playing the Division 2. The Battle of Fall Brooklyn DLC. Yeah, that is a good one. That is a good one. I wish, honestly, Ubisoft would work and bring out a Division 3. I really enjoyed the Division games.
Although we're working on a Division and they cancelled it.
Yeah, but that was the mobile thing.
No, they're working on a big Division.
They are?
They were.
Did they cancel it?
Yeah.
I missed that completely, man. That's unfortunate to hear. Let's see. The General Z has been playing Mario Kart World, Death Stranding, and Cyberpunk on the Switch 2. Sweet. A lot of Switch 2 love here in the chat. That is fantastic to hear.
Yeah, obviously, he hasn't been playing Death Stranding on the Switch 2.
Yeah, obviously. All right. Dutch. Let us use the Konstantinos is playing Tokyo Extreme Racer.
Yes, nice.
I
do want to add as well, by the way, it's I know obviously everyone knows about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and how terrible that ran on the regular Switch. Obviously, it got mocked quite a lot. There was a lot of pop-in. There was a lot of issues with it. Obviously, there's a free update for Scarlet and Violet on the Switch 2, and it is significantly better. So this is how one should have released, and I don't think it would have got the hate that it did. Granted, obviously, it's still not the most pretty game in the world, but it's significantly better. There is a lot more AI Pokemon kind of around the place instead of being very scarce. There is no pop-in. It's a buttery smooth experience. The level of detail and fidelity on the game itself is significantly improved. Obviously, it's a lot of a much sharper image, so thank God.
Nice. Oh, and Agent X-Force mentions in the chat that they are working on Division 3 now. They U-turned. He says, I need to research that. What's going on with Division 3?
Because they were making Heartland, which was the free-to-play Division game. And they canned it. And that was like was it like just canned it a little bit of the way in. They canned it at almost complete status. That was like in beta. That's how far along that thing was, and they canned it.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna look that up if they have U-turned, like Agent X-Force says. But for now, we gotta live with the fact that it might or might not be in the works. And Konstantinos in the chat says he's so torn off if he should get a Switch 2. He says, I still have the first, but I barely play it. I haven't even played my whole library. That's the thing. That's why I haven't got the Switch 2 yet. because I do have my Switch and I barely play it anymore. Especially since I have the ROG Ally for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
I'm just not playing really on my Switch. And if I look at the lineup of the Switch 2, I would be playing Mario Kart for, I don't know, 20 hours or so, and then it would collect dust because there's nothing else I would play on there. I wouldn't play Cyberpunk on it. Why would I?
Yeah, not for now anyway, not for now.
Why would I? I can play the better version either on my Xbox or my PC, or on my, if I want to play in handheld mode, I play it on the on the ROG Ally. With even better settings and better frame rates than I get on the Switch, right? So it just doesn't really make sense. I'm probably going to get a Switch 2 once they have released more games that I actually want to play. The next Zelda, the next 3D Mario, or something like that. Then I will get into the Switch 2 realm. But for now, I'm going to hold off, and I need to save the money because there's no way I'm missing out on the next Ally, the ROG Xbox Ally, and that's not going to be a cheap thing. So I'm gonna save that money for now. But Dutch, let us use that as a segue into the topic of the Switch 2, because the Switch 2 has had a record-breaking launch. It sold within 4 days 3.5 million consoles across the globe. Just for reference, PlayStation 4 and 5 roughly took 50 days to do that, so almost 2 months, right?
Yeah.
We really don't know how long it took Xbox to achieve that. It's the fastest selling console ever. And that, along with a relatively muted launch, there was not much advertisement going on. For a console launch of that size, I thought it was pretty muted.
Yeah, it was very muted. Very muted.
But it sells like hotcakes, man. And Nintendo apparently can keep up with the demand, right? The Switch 2 is still available in most stores. So there's absolutely no problem in getting a Switch 2 here in Europe. I know in the UK it's very similar, and I'm pretty sure it's also the same in the United States.
You can get the Switch 2 itself is absolutely fine. Some of the accessories are the things that are impacted by not enough supply, such as the Switch 2 Pro controller, or carry cases, or more of the official stuff than the unofficial stuff. But a lot of the official things are starting to kind of get low. But the console itself, that's readily available.
Which is pretty awesome, man, to see that the scalpers are not making any money off of it. So what do you think about this record-breaking launch of the Switch 2? Deserved? You can speak better on it than I can.
I think when we look at the Switch 2, it's more of a Switch Pro than it is a Switch 2. I think these are just refinements of the original Switch than it is a true next step for the Nintendo. I think they ultimately just did a if it isn't broke, don't fix it approach. They refined some of the things, like they refined the Joy-Cons, made them a little bit more durable. The console itself feels more durable than the previous one. The screen significantly better than the previous one, even at base. Obviously, on the previous one, you had the base, then you had the Switch Lite, and then you had the OLED. And of course, to get a half-decent screen on the Switch previously, you had to get the OLED model. But they've got HDR built into this screen already. It is, of course, still a standard panel. It's not an OLED panel, but it looks fantastic. Crystal clear, really sharp. But yeah, overall, build quality-wise and quality of the console itself, absolutely well-deserved. But we have to also speak on the fact that they have no games at launch bar Mario. Yes, they've got a lot of patches for upcoming games, but we call PlayStation out for doing the same thing, so we have to call Nintendo out for doing that.
You mean with the PlayStation 5 Pro
Yeah.
launch? Yeah. Yeah, again, that's the reason why I personally am holding off, but apparently it doesn't keep a lot of gamers in a waiting position like me. With 3.5 millions in 4 days, that's the biggest console launch ever. That is crazy.
By a big margin as well.
Yeah.
It's not just...
Yeah, by a big margin. And so the demand is there. Mario Kart seems to be enough for people to switch over. And maybe it's also because of the back compat thing. Because like you said, a lot of games getting patches, and especially over the last couple of years, a lot of the games that came out, remember Zelda Tears of Kingdom? When was it? 2 years ago.
Yeah.
As good as the game was, it ran horribly. You could tell, hey, the Switch is just not able to handle that anymore. Pokemon was horrible from a performance standpoint, right? And so a lot of games came out, and you could tell, okay, man, this isn't the experience that is. You should play those games. And since it has backwards compatibility now, since it has these updates, the Switch 2 updates, right? I think that's enough for a lot of people, because people have built their libraries on Nintendo as well. We are always talking about that on Steam or Xbox or PlayStation, where people build up their libraries. People have their libraries on the Switch too as well, on the Switch as well, and for them being able to carry that over, I think that is also a big selling point.
Yeah, completely agree. It is. And of course, it helps that they've got these emulators, so you can even go back and play some of the old NES, Super Nintendo, N64, GameCube.
GameCube is now on there, right? Because N64 and Super Nintendo and NES games have been on the original Switch as well. So
yeah, they've just added GameCube. They've only got 3 games so far, but it is there. The surprising one for me not being there is, well, they do have the original Game Boy and they do have the Game Boy Advance, but they don't have like the original.
the DS.
Got a peculiar. No, they've got the original NES. They've got a peculiar lineup of games for each one, which is always strange for me. So, for instance, for the Game Boy, they have Pokemon trading card game, but they don't have the original red,
blue,
yellow, blue, green. Yeah. They don't have the original Pokemons, but they'll have trading card game.
Yeah.
But my big one is, of course, and I've been shouting at them to create a new one, is being able to go back and play on Golden Sun on the Game Boy Advance, which is fantastic. And you can widescreen it now as well. You're not just left in box letter like the old school kind of thing. You can actually widescreen all of them now, which is fantastic. And that's what they've done for N64 games and GameCube games as well. You can, instead of having the old aspect ratio, you can actually put it into widescreen and play the games in widescreen.
Yeah. That's fantastic, man. They need to bring Twilight Princess to that GameCube emulation. Then they have me sold. Because that's the most underrated Zelda game.
I don't have Super Mario Sunshine on there.
Oh, nice.
I want them to, but they don't have it there.
They don't have it on there.
No, they don't. I want it. I want them to. That was one of the best games on there.
Yeah.
I want Star Fox Adventures on there.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
That was a hell of a game. Bring that back.
And of course, Resident Evil was on there. There were the Metroid games. But I think they will not bring those kind of games because there are remakes out there that they want to sell, right?
Yeah.
Um, Dutch, congratulations to Nintendo for this massive and successful launch. I do hope that the library gets extended pretty quickly next year.
Like I say, it's a good job they've got. Of course, the launch was relatively weak in terms of titles, but it's a good job they have Donkey Kong, Metroid, and Pokemon over the next few months. So they've got realistically opening launch year for first party games.
Yeah, technically, yes, but I'm really not interested in Pokemon and Metroid. I can still play that on my old Switch. So
yeah, I wouldn't though.
I will though, because I'm not just buying a console for that one game.
No, I don't blame you.
But I'm definitely going to play Metroid. Cannot wait for that, man. Can the Switch 2 now record gameplay longer than 30 or 20 seconds? You're still limited to those small clips.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Okay.
You just need to get yourself a capture card.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I really don't.
Yeah, you do.
I'm good with.
It'll make your life so much easier.
No, it wouldn't. That's the reason why I'm not getting one.
Of course,
I would have to turn on the PC, and I would have to take care of the pass-through, and it is a hassle I do not want to go through.
I don't think Nintendo would ever get to the point where they'll be able to record like hour-long clips or even 60-second clips or anything like that. I think for them, if you know what they're like anyway at the best of times. If I was to try and stream and I've done it before, I've tried to stream their games in the past, and they will just demonetize you immediately. They're like, "Oh yeah, you can play our games, but we're making the money from it." Like, oh god, so much for being a content creator. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right, Dutch. Let us move on from Nintendo and get to an unfortunate news bit before we get into the bigger topics of the week. PlayStation's Bend Studio has laid off 1/3 of their staff this week. After canceling their games as a service title that they have been working for 5 years on, they have now laid off roughly around about 1/3 of their staff. They reassured that they are working now on a single player project whenever that comes out. Do not expect that game before, I would say, at least 2030, 5 years from now, something like that. And they are going to do that with less staff. It's very unfortunate for the developers. What are your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, it is very unfortunate. Not only is it unfortunate, but this is a studio that really wanted to make Days Gone 2.
Yes.
And Sony told them, no, you can't make that. You have to make this live service game.
Yeah.
And then they got a significant way through making that live service game, and they cancelled it. And then because they cancelled it and lost a ton of money on the development side, they've now had to wind down the staff, but they're also having to try and wind up development of a new single-player game. So, I mean, it's going to take even longer now than, like you say, it probably won't release until 2030 earliest, because they've had a significant number of staff. I think it's 30 or 40 from the studio, which is about 1/3, if not a little bit more than 1/3 of the staff. It's a big chunk of being wiped out in one go, including some really senior developers. One of the senior artists kind of posted about it, saying he was let go.
Yeah.
So it's not just like they're losing normal people; they're losing long-standing developers from the studio, and now they've got to try and wind up and start the development of a new game.
With a lot of the veterans gone now, right? Which is truly unfortunate. And I'm fully with Konstantinos in the chat. He says he hates the mismanagement with Bend. So much wasted time, so many bad choices. Now the layoffs. That's exactly the point.
It's not just Bend. It's Sony this
First
generation has
yeah.
been the worst managed company I have witnessed since God, Microsoft Xbox One.
Yeah.
Um,
The launch
it's
days of
just
the Xbox One. Yeah.
yeah, it's just a shambles. They don't know what direction they want to go into. They're pivoting too hard in both directions at the same time. So like, okay, we need to go all in for live service. So they went all in for live service, and that was an absolute clusterfuck. And then they went, okay, now we're going to have to pivot and go complete 180 and return back to single player games, but still do dabbling into live service at the same time. And not only have they done that, they've not give the studios just chance to finish what they were working on and just show, right, let's get them out, that's done, and then we'll pivot on. They just went, nope, cancelled them. Let's just make new stuff.
Yeah.
So that's just lost money. No ways of recouping that money by releasing the games that they had already almost developed.
Yeah.
And then studio mismanagement, the loss of staff, the loss of hierarchy, the constant reshuffling at the top. So you don't really know who's in control. Is it Herman Hulst? Is it Sony? Is it Herman Hulst? Is it Sony? Like, who's actually in charge of Sony? God knows that these
They
days.
had the two
No idea.
president thing going on.
Yeah.
Then the chief financial officer swooped in. And they've been managed, like you said, so badly this gen. And yes, Monsquisitor in the chat says it was Jim Ryan's fault, and that's correct. He laid out the roadmap for the studios with, yeah, we're focusing on making 12 games as a service titles, and now here we are. Almost everything is cancelled, or even worse, games came out like Concord, and then 10 days later they were shut down. It's super unfortunate, and now, especially with Bend, that hurts because I really, really liked Days Gone. That was in my top 3 of the PS4 generation. I really enjoyed that game, and it's
Yeah, I platinumed it. I ended up going and platinum it.
yeah,
Loved it.
yeah, and
Loved it.
absolutely, I loved it too. And the thing is, it did well. It did sell millions and millions of copies. It ended up selling above 9 million copies, right? Which is really good, actually. And yet they were not allowed to do the sequel that they envisioned. And
Because it wasn't critically well received.
yeah, but at the end of the day, you're in to make money, right? And it was
Yeah.
received pretty well in that regard. But apparently, it wasn't enough for Sony. And now we are at this point that 5 years later, when did Days Gone came out? 2019, I want to say.
18, I think. 18. I think it was 18.
It was fairly at the end of the gen. So
Yeah,
after
was it
5, 6
not like
years,
pretty much same year, if not year before God of War?
I think it was the year after God of War. And God of War was 2018. That's why I'm saying 19. Maybe someone in the chat knows, but the point is, if they would have just let them make Days Gone 2, it would have been out by now, right?
Yep.
But what they did is they canceled it. They did not allow Days Gone 2. They canceled after 6 years of development the games as a service title, and now the studio starts from scratch and needs another 5 years to bring out and make the next game. That means we are well above a decade of not a single game coming from that studio. And there's no way you can tell me that this is good management and makes financial sense in that regard. 2019, Konstantinos in the chat says 2019. So there you go. Yeah, this is just a harsh reality. So yeah, very unfortunate. Let's see in a couple of years what Bend is then cooking up with reduced staff now. And I do hope that the developers will land on their feet that have been laid off. Dutch, let us get to more happy news. let's talk about The Witcher before we get into all the Xbox stuff. We have two things to discuss about The Witcher. There is a leak / rumor / indication going around that CD Projekt Red is exploring the possibility of releasing another third story DLC for The Witcher 3 next year that is then developed by Fool's Theory. That's the studio that is working on the remake of the first Witcher, of the original Witcher game. That one struck me by surprise, man. Do you think, is this something that could actually happen? That they release next year, would be 11 years after the Witcher 3 came out, a third proper DLC for it?
You know, if they do, it could be that they kind of make another DLC that kind of fits in a little bit more story to go with Witcher 4. But I think it would probably just be to kind of keep the hype up and keep it going and keep reintroducing people to Witcher 3 whilst they're waiting for Witcher 4 to come out. But I think, yeah, I mean, if they do, fantastic. But if they're just saying, oh, it's going to be potentially by the studio that's remaking 1, that makes sense. Because it would be really weird if the internal studio many years later decided to do DLC for the game again.
Absolutely. While they are working heavily on The Witcher 4
Yeah.
now and want to get that game out, right? Yeah, I mean, to your point about it making sense to give people something Witcher whilst shortening the wait, I was hoping that the actual remake of the first one actually comes out, I don't know, maybe next year, to bridge that gap towards The Witcher 4, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, The Witcher 3 is now 10 years old, and it'll be at least another 2 years, if not 3, 27, 28, until we see The Witcher 4. And that makes then, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years. And that's almost an entire generation of gamers that have not seen the launch of a Witcher game. And so to bring that hype around The Witcher back with a proper DLC actually would make sense, in my opinion. But I'm also very cautious with these kind of rumors and indications when the studio says, yeah, we are looking into stuff like that. It doesn't mean that it will come out, right? We need to be careful and not hype us up unintentionally or unnecessarily, but another quest line, yeah, in the Witcher 3 universe would be awesome to really shorten the wait until either the remake or Witcher 4 comes out, whatever comes first. I'm still thinking it makes sense to release the remake first and then do Witcher 4.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Get people interested in it, but just the first Witcher or Assassin of Kings, the second Witcher? Like, how many are we going to do? All of them? Apart from 3?
They have announced just the remake for the first one, for the original Witcher. Because let's be fair, The Witcher 2 is still pretty much playable on PC, and it's also pretty okay playable in backwards compatibility on Xbox. There's not that, but it's very different with The Witcher 1, the original Witcher. And I think a lot of people have not played the first Witcher, the original Witcher. And it would just make sense for them to release that and introduce people with modern visuals and more modern gameplay mechanics into the Witcher universe again. And you do that before you bring out the big one, right? The Witcher 4.
Yeah.
Which we also, by the way, got some news on this week. Digital Foundry had a big interview with CD Projekt Red and Epic, and the talk of the town is about why did they show off The Witcher 4 on running the tech demo. It wasn't really The Witcher 4, it was a tech demo for The Witcher 4. Why did they show off that running on a PlayStation and not on a high-end PC, yeah, like they usually do? And the CD Projekt Red said, well, they have learned the lessons from Cyberpunk, right? By showing stuff early, running on high-end PCs, which they then had to scale down for whatever reasons, yeah. And at this time, they are going to work on The Witcher with consoles in mind first, and then try to upscale from that to PC. Which is quite an interesting approach, and a lot of people have been touting, consoles are dead. Obviously, some of the biggest studios in the world think differently. GTA is only coming out on consoles first. Of course, a PC release will follow later, probably, I don't know, a year later or so. But consoles first. Witcher is developed with consoles in mind first. They also spoke a little bit about the Series S, that they probably will not be able to achieve their 60 frames target on the Series S. But for the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 base console, that's absolutely the thing they want to do. And so what are your thoughts on this, man? Developing the Witcher game, the next mainline Witcher, consoles first in mind?
I mean, it's a smart move, but I think if they're excusing the fact that they developed it for PC first and then try to downscale it for consoles after that is the reason it did poorly. I think they're very misguided. We all know the reason it did poorly is because they did not get rid of the previous gen in their thinking, and try to develop it for that at all, and release it at the same time as everything else, which was just a cluster. It was a mess. It was a fucking clusterfuck. Like
especially
PlayStation,
when you
Xbox,
launch your game like 3 weeks after the next gen console launch, in the middle of a pandemic where distribution was bad. PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles were sold out everywhere. Your install base is low. It makes financial sense to release it then on the old gen. But if you do that, you need to be aware that most of your players will be on the last gen console, right? And to launch it in such a state was simply not a smart move.
Agreed. It was an absolute mess. I mean, hats off to them saying they were developing for console first and then upscaling for PC, but that wasn't the reason it did so poorly on console at launch, because it was absolutely, I mean, for me on Xbox, aside from your typical open world bugs like cars clicking into the floor or AI popping up random places, like your standard things you get from open world games at launch, performance wise, it was fine. I had absolutely zero issues with the game on Series X.
Same. Little frame time stutters here and there, but it was absolutely playable at launch on Series X, though.
Yeah, but Xbox One and PlayStation 4 should never, ever, ever, ever have been developed for or released. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
That's what caused their issues. So I think going forward, it's not just a fact of developing for PC and then downgrading to console. I think it's just a case of, if you feel like the console is going to be technically very difficult to come out in a state that can be playable, whether that be at 30 or at 60, if you can't get it running at 60, then make it playable at 30. If that is still horrific, like it was on the One X and on the One and the PlayStation 4, where it was barely registering 20 frames, just don't release it. Just go, nope, we're just not developing it for that console. And I think you could see that for the Switch too. I don't see Witcher 4 coming out.
Yeah, exactly. I could see The Witcher 4 not coming out on the Switch too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not unless the only way I see it again is if it comes out way after launch and they
Yes,
bring out and it's just at 30 and it's
agreed.
been
Similar
downsized.
like with the Witcher 3, right? That came out 3 years or so after launch on the original Switch with a lot of
Yeah,
time to optimize and everything.
and a lot of paid back settings. A lot
Yeah,
of paid back
yeah,
settings.
yeah,
And of course at 30, not at 60.
yeah,
I think that'll be the same for Witcher. I think it'll be years down the line at 30 with a lot of paid back settings.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, hats off for them for getting Cyberpunk running the way that they have on the Switch too,
Yeah.
with quite a high level of detail by all accounts. It's on par, if not a little bit there, with Series S in terms of its performance and its quality. So hats off to them for that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but that was ages after launch.
Yes.
So they had a lot of time to work on that in the background.
And can you imagine if it would have not launched in the state it had launched? How successful that would have been?
Oh,
Because it still
was
did
like
pretty
it was like
well.
oh yeah,
Now,
oh yeah.
many
It was
years
like
later,
it was
right?
like something like 30, 40 million units, and then they had to refund like 15 million copies.
Yeah.
So it ended up being like 25 million units sold.
Something in that ballpark.
But even still, that was just at launch. So I mean, it's still wildly successful.
No, it
But
was not at launch. It was a couple of years later. I think after the DLC came out.
it was
That was when they reported on 25 million. So, but
super successful
anyway,
though in the end. But it
yeah,
would have been much better if they'd have just released it in the way that it is currently sitting.
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
Yeah. All right, Dutch. Let us move on from The Witcher and get to your favorite topic, and that is Silksong. I had to put that in today's topics because Dutch, remember the showcase last week during the ROG Xbox Ally presentation? They specifically mentioned and shown Silksong and said when the Xbox ROG Ally comes out, Silksong is going to be playable on it. And everyone assumed, okay, that's a launch game for that thing. The studio actually came out, and the studio head, Griffin, said the following, that they are not tied to a console release. Yeah. And it is coming before holiday 2025. So I know a lot of people have been asking you because you have contacts because of your indie showcase, right, towards Team Cherry, and they've asked you a lot and harassed you a lot about, hey, when is it coming out? When is it coming out? So it's coming out before holiday 2025. They confirmed that this week. So Dutch, when do you expect it to come out then?
I don't know, because they've been telling Xbox it was going to come out for a very long time. So they told Xbox it would be out the tail end of last year when we did the indie showcase.
Yeah, but when you sit in 25 in June and you say, okay, it's coming this year and it's coming before the holiday season of 25.
But Microsoft also said that last year. This is the thing, like Xbox also said that last year. Like, and Team Cherry said they're hard at work and it'll be out later this year. And it didn't.
But later is different than when you say in June it's coming before holiday.
The problem with this particular developer, not just Team Cherry, but whoever it is that's speaking on behalf of Team Cherry, is he always likes to undermine what Xbox are telling people about the game that they've got an agreement with to release on Game Pass at launch. So whenever Xbox tell people when this game's releasing, the studio comes out and literally undermines them and corrects them at every opportunity. So I don't even know if this game will achieve holiday 2025. To be brutally honest, I want it to, but I don't trust the people at Team Cherry to deliver on that.
Interesting. I actually am pretty confident that this time it's actually going to come out, and I would assume if they are that confident in June to say, okay, before holiday we will release it. It's different than in previous years where they've said, yeah, we intend to release it this year, or it's coming later this year, or something like that. So I'm pretty confident it'll come out, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be a September release because October is getting crowded, and definitely holiday season. Then October, November is the holiday season for gaming. So I'm expecting this to come out actually in September. Maybe even a little earlier, man. But we shall see. We shall see. Day one for me, though. Absolutely.
It's day one for everyone.
Yeah, rightfully so. Rightfully
Game Pass.
so. Game Pass. True that. All right, let us get to the Xbox showcase, the aftermath, and everything. It's been a week now. We had time to digest everything. We had tons of infos coming out on the games shown. We had time to rethink everything, and we learned a lot more about many things. Dutch. I want to start with Phil Spencer himself. Because usually Xbox, when they are doing these live events and Phil's there, either on stage or in the theater, we get a lot of interviews with Phil Spencer with different media outlets, you know, your IGNs or your big YouTubers and so on. They all get their interviews. This year, this was very different. There was not a single interview from one of the media outlets with Phil Spencer or Sarah Bond or Matt Booty or anyone in the leadership team. Phil was quote unquote only on the official Xbox podcast that they host themselves, right? He had a big interview there, and I was a little surprised by how little they were actually giving interviews to media, because on the official Xbox podcast they don't ask the urgent questions, right? There was really nothing new out of this conversation on the official Xbox podcast. He talked about stuff like, okay, Japanese developers are super important for us. He reconfirmed the commitment that they have with Japanese game studios and bringing those games to Xbox. He talked about Play Anywhere is important to them, but not mandatory for devs and stuff like that. There was really nothing new. So I wanted to ask you, man, why is that lack of interviews with media outlets that they have every year after the showcase in June?
I personally think this time round is outside of the handheld that they don't manufacture themselves. But there isn't really that much they need to talk about.
I agree.
There's a few game releases, but none of them. We've mentioned this. I think the deep dive, and I think I mentioned this afterwards. Outer Worlds 2 did not require that deep dive.
Yeah.
If you've sat through that deep dive, that was TMI, too much information. The game didn't need that much explaining, and I felt like it was a little bit over-explanatory, where it kind of borderline almost ruined what the experience would be as a new player, because it kind of just went
everything and so on.
Too in-depth in everything, and it's like, oh, we'll just take away all of the nuance of experiencing that for the first time, or learning those things for the first time by just exploring every mechanic you possibly have. If it was a really in-depth RPG, then yeah, makes sense. It probably would have made sense to do if, for instance, Kingdom Come was something that Xbox had released themselves.
Yeah.
You would have had to have a deep dive to kind of explore this is how you do this, and this is how you do this, and this is how
I
you do
mean,
this.
like in the last years with Starfield, it made total sense because
Yeah,
it's a new IP, it's a massive open world Bethesda RPG that introduced a
yeah.
lot of
You've
new
got big crafting
mechanics,
mechanics. You've
Starfield,
got base mechanics. You've got
bases building, exactly,
flight
and
control. Yeah, everything.
everything, yeah. A lot of new mechanics that needed explaining. It made total sense. It also made kind of sense to have Call of Duty on there last year because they needed to let everyone know, hey, Call of Duty is Xbox now, right?
Yeah.
So that also kind of made sense. But I'm
But
with you.
overall, there wasn't anything to come out of like outside of the handheld, which is made by Asus.
Yeah.
Outside of that, there really wasn't much information.
Especially on
Like, it
their
was,
stuff,
yeah,
right? On their first party stuff. I agree. And I think they kind of felt, hey, why would we do another fireworks show like last year, right?
yeah,
Where we had banger after banger from first party studios. And why would we do that this year? We have a big thing coming up next year with the 25th anniversary, right?
yeah,
When it might also be time to actually talk about next gen and show off the games, then maybe in an even better state, right? Then there's also the fact that the games that they have introduced, like Gears of War, take that as an example. They cannot do another CGI trailer. They need to show that thing in with gameplay then. And you might not want to show gameplay too early in these days. They've learned probably their lesson in that regard, right? And so outside of Clockwork, there was no big heavy hitter from first parties in there. And so that totally would explain why they would also be more quiet on the interview side of things, especially given that their competitor, PlayStation, hasn't done anything, you know? Why would
yeah,
they bring out the big guns again? And yeah, like you said, the Ally is probably the biggest talking point, but it's not their hardware per se. Um, it's made by Asus, and it still has no release date or official price. And I think there will be a dedicated other smaller event coming, probably hosted by Asus, to reveal release date and price. And so yeah, there wasn't much to give interviews on, and maybe they also learned, hey, we are talking a lot. We are talking a lot, and usually, and not usually, but often, it falls on their feet because then they say something that they will not be able to keep up with or set different, weird expectations. And if you look at Nintendo, if you look at PlayStation, their executives are nowhere to be seen, right? There's when did Doug Bowser came out to, I don't know, IGN and give an interview the last time? Not even when they launched the Switch 2 did they show anything. You know what I mean? Uh,
yeah.
and so I think that's probably the reason why they decided to not be in the media that much this year. Um, so yeah, let us talk about the biggest talking point from the show: the Asus ROG Xbox Ally and Xbox Ally X, the two handhelds that
Yeah.
have been announced. We gave our initial thoughts directly after the show when we did the post show, but now a week later, a lot of talk in the community came up. We got additional infos. We got rumors about the release date, and so on. And let's dissect this a little. There's obviously, especially in the Xbox community, a lot of hype around this device, and I'm gonna get one day one because I have the current Asus ROG Ally, and that is my second most used gaming device.
Do you have the current Ally X or just the regular Ally?
No, the regular one.
So you're going to get the Ally X this time.
There was no Ally X when it launched. When it launched,
yes.
there were also two versions of the ROG Ally. Yeah, there was the base Ally, and then there was but they were both called Asus ROG Ally. Super bad in naming because the name didn't do any differentiation. But it was the same principle like with the Ally and the Ally X now, where you could buy the OG Ally with the Z1 processor and the bigger one with the Z1 Extreme processor. And I've got the Z1 Extreme. The Ally X was then the facelift a year later that had the same chip, the same APU, so it still runs the Z1 Extreme.
Yeah.
But it increased the RAM from 16 to 24 gigs. That was the one change they did.
Yeah.
And that wasn't enough for me to actually
the
switch a year after the OG Ally came out. So I do still have the Z1 Extreme version of the launch day Ally. And well, now the next one came out. And I have seen so many weird takes on this from, of course, fanboys as well as bigger media outlets. And I don't know why, because they explained the concept, the idea behind it, and the technical specs pretty well. But then I've seen outlets like Digital Foundry, and I highly respect Digital Foundry for their technical knowledge and their technical analysis, but they were sitting there actually claiming in their official podcast, well, the base Ally, not the Ally X, is running on the same APU as the Steam Deck that came out 3-4 years ago, which is factually wrong. The Steam Deck isn't even running on the Z1. It is an AMD APU, yes, that's correct, and it also has a 16-core CPU in there, but it's not even a Z1 processor. And to claim that the Z2, not Z2 Extreme, is the same APU like the Steam Deck had 4 years ago, 3 years ago, is factually wrong. So I've seen weird takes like that. And then, of course, the community, the diehard Xbox fans, they've been out there celebrating, hey, I can now play PlayStation games on an Xbox. And and then, of course, there's this discussion out there. Is this actually an Xbox? And I was sitting there and I was putting up a post on Twitter that kind of blew up. Where I said that I'm a little confused because technically the Asus ROG Ally, the Xbox Ally, base one and the Ally X cannot do a single thing that you cannot do right now already on the Asus ROG Ally that came out 3 years ago, or the Lenovo Go or any other PC handheld, because they were hyping up, this is the one place where you can play all your games. No, you cannot. You cannot. They've been open to about that. You cannot play your console games on there. You cannot. You can play your Steam games, your Epic games, your good old games, and of course PC Game Pass and Windows PC games, right? You can play those on there, just like you can for 3 years now on the original Ally and the Lenovo and all the other PC handhelds that are out there. There's not a single game that you cannot play on those devices already. So making it or claiming, hey, this is a super revolutionary device that now lets you play PlayStation games. No, you can already do that for years now, many years, on a PC handheld, like the Asus Ally, like the Lenovo. There are many others out there. So it's really not that revolutionary. It's still a Windows-based PC handheld. And everything that you can do on a PC handheld today, you will be able to play on that thing. So that is not the revolutionary part. It's not new that you can play on one device Steam games and Xbox PC games, right? You can
Yeah.
already do that. But people make it out to be, oh, this is the big revolution. And that's not the fact or not the case, because there are already devices. I've been playing on my device like that for 3 years, those games. Yeah. And there's not one console game that you can play on the Xbox Ally X or the base Ally. There's not a single console game. So, given their strategy to name everything an Xbox now, your smartphone is an Xbox, right? Your TV, your smart refrigerator is an Xbox now. Everything is an Xbox. Brings this motto to its limits. Because if everything is an Xbox, why can't I play my console games on there, right? So that is not the revolutionary part. There's one thing though. I'm making it sound so negative. There's one thing though that is super exciting about this. And that is the stripped down Windows version that they will launch, where they actually turn off a lot of the background stuff of Windows, the desktop off, right? Freeing up more memory, freeing up more resources for games. That is the revolutionary part, to have an overlay that feels more console than Windows. That is a big revolutionary thing to me. It is also not really new that you can start your Steam games and Epic games and Xbox PC games from the same launcher. That is fantastic that it's in there. But I can already do that on my current Xbox Ally, just not with the Windows solution. But Asus is providing the Armory crate, right? And when I boot that up, I have all my library, all my games from Steam, from Epic, from everything I have on there in one launcher, and I can just click and bam, play the game. So that's also not the revolutionary part. The revolutionary part to me really is this stripped down Windows version, which, by the way, will also roll out to existing PC handhelds a little later, but it will also be available for those. So,
and hopefully not just the handhelds, hopefully they'll release some form of this for PC. We should see a form of it for PC at some point as well, in some way, shape, or form, if they're planning on releasing a console in the same vein, which we believe that they will be doing, a hybrid console, which will be PC console.
yeah.
So that would make sense, but they have to, and we know they've got the backward compatibility team up and running again.
Absolutely.
For a reason. They would have to allow you to play your games that you already own on that launcher.
Exactly. And I think
not just play anywhere.
I get why they promote or have as a new motto for their advertising, this is an Xbox. Everything's an Xbox.
It is for
My
new games.
personal and your personal problem, because I remember the two of us talking about this when they started this ad campaign with this is an Xbox, right? We said the idea is fantastic, but they are far from being at that point, because we are still talking about divided libraries. Kingdom Come Deliverance, I bought that on my Xbox console, I cannot play it on the Ally. Not the Xbox Ally X that will come out in October or the current one that I have now. I will not be able to play that. I'm just taking that as an example, that goes basically for almost every game, right? I've checked Dutch because people threw at me this post about from Xbox. We have 1,000 Play Anywhere titles there.
Yeah, if you have a look at the list, though.
But if you have a look at the list, it is only games that are in Game Pass, and I love that they have Play Anywhere, but that's about it. There are tons of games I haven't even heard of, but I checked. I have an Xbox library, an Xbox console library of 720 games, 723 games, and only 9 of them are Play Anywhere. So selling me this as this is an Xbox. No, it's not. It's a PC.
I'll be able to tell you how many I've got. 2 seconds. I've still got the Xbox app open here on the PC, so I can tell you how many I've got.
Exactly.
So I've got my library, and so Death Stranding is Play Anywhere. Dirt 5 is Play Anywhere. Cuphead is Play Anywhere. The Forza Horizon series 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. Forza 7, Final Fantasy 6, Pixel Remaster, Final Fantasy 9, Cuphead, Call of Duty, Gears 5, Gears 4, Halo Infinite.
Yeah,
not
counting the Game Pass games, right?
Oh, of course. So I own them ones, but they're also Game Pass.
The thing. So
Mortal Kombat 11, that's Game Pass now as well. Scarlet Nexus, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Visions of Mana.
Yeah, Visions of Mana is
one. Yeah.
So it's also
much,
like a dozen at max, right? Out of the hundreds of games you do own. So this idea of everything's an Xbox is great, but there's really no chance to accessing my biggest library I have. I need to check. I have like 100 and 150 games on Steam. I have also maybe 150 on PlayStation. My biggest library is my Xbox library by a far big margin, and they are still splitting it up with this device. Now, granted, I don't want to come off too negative about it because I really appreciate what they are doing, because to me this Dutch is a glimpse into the future for the next proper console, right? We've talked about this for over a year now. And I actually researched and saw a tweet that I put out in May 2024, so more than a year ago. I put that up on Twitter that I fully expect the next Xbox console to run on a Windows-based version. It will not look like your Windows desktop. It will be an overlay, is what I wrote at the time. That makes it look like a console experience, but at its core, it's going to be Windows. We've talked about this for more than a year now. And with that now out, it's not out in the wild, but with them having shown that Windows-sized or stripped-down Windows version of, I fully expect the next Xbox console to run exactly on that OS. It's gonna run this Windows Lite version. They have now, let's say, 2 years till the next gen console comes out to refine that Windows experience that they now launch on the ROG Ally X, Xbox Ally X, and then the next console will run that, and the next console will have enough power to emulate all the consoles games, because one thing is sure, Microsoft is probably the company that is most committed to game preservation. There's no argument you can bring up to claim that Xbox doesn't care about their library history, and because they have a backwards compatibility program like no other. Not Nintendo, not PlayStation does have anything remotely close to that. We can play now across all Xbox generations. We can play OG Xbox games, 360 games, Xbox One games, Xbox Series games. We can all play them on console, and they will not abandon that with the next gen console. But to emulate console games on a handheld that is simply not equipped with the computational prowess that you need to do that, right, would be an expectation that is ridiculous. So I'm absolutely okay with what they are delivering. I'm just saying their motto of this is an Xbox, and the fanboys out there and the dumbass media that are barely understanding what is happening in the games industry make it out to be a revolutionary device, the one device that plays all your games. I'm sorry, but it will not play a single game that you cannot already play on every PC handheld that is out for many years already. It will not do anything new in that regard. It'll be very interesting to see if or how this stripped down Windows experience will benefit you in the sense of getting better battery life, getting more performance out of your games. It'll be awesome to see that this is a hardware upgrade to the already existing handhelds that are out there, the Z2 Extreme processor, the 24 gigs of RAM, the faster SSD, and the bigger, higher bandwidth, and everything. That is exciting. That is super exciting. Better and bigger battery in there. Will we be able to play games longer than an hour in battery mode, right? Those are the things that are exciting to me, and I cannot wait, and I will get one day one because I play so much on my handheld. But making it out to that all of a sudden you can play PlayStation games on your Xbox device is factually not correct because you can already do that for many years, right?
Yeah.
So, sorry, Dutch, this was a very long rant. Let me hear your thoughts, man.
Yeah, well, I'm going to bring up something a little bit different because, that whole silliness. I've seen it across both, and both sets of fanboys were equally as horrific as each other, which is part of the reason why I'm barely on X or socials these days anyway, because it's just the same vitriol back and forwards. One's group of people calling another group dumbasses because it's not playing Xbox games or PlayStation games on an Xbox. It's just a PC. Of course, you can play it on this. You've been able to do it for years. And then the other ones that are the PlayStation guys, likewise, then still in denial that PlayStation's not going to be multi-platform going forwards, and then not calling out their own stupidity. So it's both back and forwards. But the one thing that I did see rumored, that we'll touch on with the ROG Ally X Series X, X Pro, X handheld, X Part 4, is the price. Did you see the rumored price?
Yes, I did see that.
€899 for the ROG Ally.
€900 for the ROG Ally. I mean, again, the original Ally came out
$799
at 800 exactly. I would have thought that they are going to place it in the same ballpark, because if you are talking €900, that will bring that price point in some countries above 1,000, right?
Start making it really difficult to sell at that price range. And I don't say that because it's it's a handheld or because it's Xbox. I say that because when you start to get closer to that 1,000 mark, for a tiny bit extra, you can just get yourself a PC. That's going to be as, if not more, performant. Of course, then you've got benefits and negatives of both. The benefit of a handheld is that it's handheld and you can take it anywhere and you can go anywhere and you've got your games on the go wherever you go.
Yeah.
Which is why I like handhelds, why I like the Switch, because it's really convenient to just pick up and go. Fantastic. There's not many consoles that you can do that with, which is why we all, me, you, Boxy included, and everybody in the Xbox community, we're really hoping that Xbox were going to do an actual native handheld, because that would have been even better. Natively download your Xbox console games and take it on the go with you.
But the problem with that is, again, how do you assure your console games run in there? You cannot go to the developers and ask them to develop a third.
Yeah, but on that note, like your backwards compatible stuff, for instance, it's of course it runs on Win x86 architecture. So the games themselves, if it was natively running on a native Xbox handheld, by that I mean more of a console-based handheld, like a Series S in handheld form, and take that on the go, then you've just got your console games on handheld, not a PC handheld.
Yeah, but
if that makes sense.
It's not about the old OG Xbox backward compatible games. It's about the series games, the current games you're playing.
Exactly.
If you had a native Xbox handheld, you would put the work towards the developer.
Which is why the news, why I think they've shelved, or at least rumored to have shelved, the native handheld thing for the moment, because they believe that would be significantly easier just doing the PC handheld and not having to fund it themselves.
That's the thing. PC games
to be able to
be scalable.
Rule out the whole, is it compatible, is it not,
Yes.
is it compatible? It's just a PC game, so you just install the PC game and it works because it's a PC and it's scalable. So
yeah, of course. Yeah.
And
I mean,
even the ones, because even if you think it's Steam Deck verified or Ally X verified, it's irrelevant. They can all work. It just depends on how good they work. That's why they get verified, because the verified games are the ones where developers went back to them and went, right, okay, we'll tweak a few things and we'll make sure it runs stable on this thing. The other games that aren't verified.
The Steam verified thing is basically a preset of settings, right? Okay, the game runs at low settings or medium settings or whatever. And the second thing is the text and menu and everything readable, and are there controller controls in there? Or does the game actually require you to use a mouse and keyboard? That's the three things that are what this verified thing means. But you're right, just because a game isn't verified, it could still very well run on Steam Deck or any other PC handheld. And they do, actually. I've played them. So,
but I think if it does release at $899, I think that's going to be a big roadblock on uptake. There's going to be a few of us that will still will.
The thing comes in with the third-party developer. The Asus is not See, consoles are subsidized machines, right? They can sell them at a loss or without making any profits on it, because Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo, they are gonna make the money back off their storefronts. That's what I always tell you. Yeah, when people say, "Oh, it's not about console sales," no, it's about the store. It's about selling the store to you. And Asus is not selling you a store.
Yeah,
Steam is doing that. The Steam Deck, right, is doing that. They are selling you the store. If the Steam Deck, the exact same device, would be made by Asus or Lenovo or something, it wouldn't be priced where it is priced right now. It is still a subsidized machine. And Asus, the ROG Xbox Ally X, is not a subsidized machine. Asus needs to make a good profit margin off of that. They need to make their 20-30% profit margin, to accommodate for R&D costs, and of course they want to make money off of this, and that's what you see, with the pricing. Let's see if the 900 are true. The leak also suggested, by the way, it comes out in October. That part to me seems realistic.
Yeah.
Right.
Good 2 months. Good 2 months jump in on Christmas.
Yes, exactly.
Or just under 2 months, like a month and a half. Yeah.
Usually consoles come out in November, right? Except Nintendo consoles, but every PlayStation and every Xbox always came out in November. For them to bring it out now in October, that is a realistic scenario. Did you see the price point of the base Ally, not the Ally X?
Yeah, I think the base was the same price as the previous Ally X, wasn't it?
No, the previous Ally X is at 800, and this one was suggested to be somewhere in between. It was a range somewhere in between 500 to 600.
That seems like too big of a disparity.
I mean, if it comes out at 600,
but like a 300 difference between the base and the
you get the better. You get more RAM, the bigger SSD. You get the Z1 Extreme.
Yeah, it still just seems a little bit too big of a disparity between the two models. I would think if the models are going to be out, and maybe it's about 150, 200 difference, not 300, 350. I think that's too big of a difference between the two.
I tend to agree with you. I'm just saying you get plenty of more stuff.
Oh, you get plenty more for it, but I think that's too big of a gap.
Yeah. So if it comes out at 600 and 900 respectively, do you think this is gonna be a success?
No.
Even with the heavily Xbox branding?
I think it'll be maybe a smidge more successful than the previous one, but as good as it can be, absolutely not. No, I don't think at 900. I think that's like you're going into like real hardcore fanboys territory. Then 900s, like I mentioned, 900s creeping on like actual PC territory.
Yeah, I agree with you there. As much hype as there is right now,
and I mean, if you searched, I was going to say if you searched as well now, you can probably pick up a 40 series PC for the 1,000 mark, and I'm talking like 4070, 4080. You probably get that in the
I think that's a little too cheap, because of course the 4070 you can get in that ballpark of 800 euros right now, or even lower.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that's like.
But you still need everything else. You need a CPU, you need the motherboard, you need the power brick, you need.
I meant you can I meant more pre-builds. If you have a look at the pre-builds now, you can get even like we're going back now here, but like my laptop, my gaming laptop was like what 1,200, and that's a 3070 in it at the time. And this was before the 40 series launched, but that was the gaming laptop with the screen and the keyboard and the mouse and everything that came with it. And around the 1,200 mark, and the 40s to 50 series is out now. If you have a look at any PC pre-built websites now, you can get a 40 series PC on sale for like 1,000, a full built PC.
Listen, I'm not going to argue against you can get more bang for the buck.
I just think if they're going in the 900 territory, I think just that's a little bit. That's what I'm saying. A little bit dangerous for the price point.
if you place it there, you really make a device for the hardcore enthusiasts.
Yeah.
And I think like the and you price it at a point. If you price it at 900 euros, yeah, you price it at a point where this thing really becomes an investment. When the Series X came out, 500 at 500. I know it's more expensive now, but when it came out, it cost 500. 500 is still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but you're in this place where you say, okay, come on, I'm gonna invest 500 euros now. I'm gonna be good with games for the next 7 to 8 years. And if you calculate it like that, it's really not that big of an investment. With a PC, everyone knows. Yeah, the original Ally that I do have is now close to 3 years, to almost 3 years old. And I can already tell you, okay, man, damn it, it needs to get better hardware. And every PC gamer knows that. 3-4 years in, you kind of have to invest into something. You don't have to build an entire new PC every 3 or 4 years, but you either invest in a new GPU or more RAM or a new CPU. You gotta upgrade something to keep up.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's PC. The handheld is a PC, right? So asking for something for 900 euros is out of the range of, man, I want to get this thing and I'm going to treat myself with it. It is in the region where a lot of people think, oh, this is a hefty investment. Am I going to do that? And nobody is going to want the base Ally or Xbox Ally, right? They already had that with the original Ally, where they had a version with the Z1, not extreme processor, and nobody bought that because performance is already, you will be playing all the games on low settings. Yeah. In rare occasions and older games, you can crank it up to medium. In some Witcher 3 runs at 60 FPS at high settings. But
speaking of that, Boxy, that's always the funniest thing to me when I see it. The funniest thing to me when I see the PC PC performance barometers, when you have a look at them online, especially on the pre-built section, for some reason, and I don't know why, they always say you can play Fortnite at 240 frames. I'm like, that's nothing. Like, why? Like, why are you using that as a benchmark? Like, the things that you should be using when you're talking about PC performance is, right, tell me what Cyberpunk can run at its full tilt. What does this PC do when Cyberpunk's at full tilt?
Yeah.
What does the PC do when Hellblade's at full tilt? What can the PC do when Kingdom Come Deliverance is at full tilt? All these the big games, not these Fortnites that run on your phone. Like that's not a barometer of performance. And like you said, yes, the regular Ally can play old ass games at okay settings from years ago, but when you put any normal modern game onto the regular Ally, not the Ally X, or the regular base Z1 or Z2, you start to get into barely low settings and barely touching 30 frames, never really hitting 60 frames.
Yeah.
Unless you install Minecraft or Fortnite, in which that's it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I played Assassin's Creed Shadows. I played a lot of that on my ROG Ally. At low settings, it ran beautiful at around 40 FPS, which, thanks to VRR and 120 Hertz screen, feels super fluent. And let's also not forget that on a 8-inch screen, you don't need the same settings than on your 55-inch, 65-inch, 75-inch big screen TV. You do not need the same settings. And Assassin's Creed Shadows looks at low settings on an 8-inch screen absolutely gorgeous. And so it's okay to, but people are aware of that. At 900 euros, people think a lot more. Is this something I'm actually going to use a lot? Is it worth the investment for me? For me personally, it's gonna be worth the investment. I know it will be worth it for you. Yeah, because I'm getting you there. You are going to get one too. Because, but we are not the normies. Yeah, we are diehard gaming fans, right? We run an Xbox or a gaming podcast. We play games almost every day. We cannot. When I travel or when I'm away from my man cave, right? I cannot read a book. I need to play games, and that's why the investment is, for me, something that I wanna have. But not a lot of people are like me, right?
Yeah.
And even
Exactly
I,
same.
and even me, I'm not investing in a Switch 2 right now because I knew the Xbox Ally, since the original Ally already cost $800, right? This is not gonna be a cheap investment if you want to get more.
Nope.
Yeah. So to wrap this up, man, how are you feeling about the Xbox ROG Xbox Ally and ROG Xbox Ally X?
The regular ROG Xbox Ally, yeah, I'm just going to pretend that doesn't exist, as you know.
Yeah.
It's a baseline machine that it will barely run the games on in the first place. That's not the experience you want when you're on handheld in general. You don't have to worry about how low the settings have to be and how to get a little bit of performance out of it. You want to be able to switch the game on, get like medium-ish settings, maybe some low in general, but the performance being quite decent. And that's, but my original feeling anyway was around the UI and the way they built the UI and the performance of the machine itself and the battery performance and everything like that. And I think a lot of it has been kind of ticked off, as they've mentioned, because they've streamlined it and they don't have a Windows dashboard or a Windows desktop, as it were, and it's just this Xbox UI kind of integration that they've built into it now, where it is, yes, it's Windows based, but it's mainly just this Xbox app turned into a UI, so they don't have the desktop anymore. You don't have to worry about all those things. That saves a significant amount on overhead performance. It's like 2 or 3 gig of RAM that's been shaved just by not having that overlay
Windows stuff in the background. Yeah.
Which is fantastic. That already boosts up your performance significantly. Now, on another note, of course, it just makes it feel a little bit more streamlined as well when you turn it on.
Yes.
First thing you see is the Xbox thing. Okay, I've got my Windows Xbox store, and I can download the PC games that are on there on Game Pass. Fantastic. On the certain ones that I own that are Play Anywhere, and then of course my Steam library, my GOG library, my Epic library, everything all in this nice,
in
quick,
the same
place,
which is fantastic. Yeah. The
and
one
then,
thing that is still
another thing, because I think you didn't, until you've probably seen the photos side by side now, notice the controller is significantly different to the regular Ally.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of things,
yeah,
or changes a lot of things.
A lot of difference.
Yeah,
a lot of difference. Now it feels like an Xbox controller with a screen in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And of course, on the Ally X, you've got the impulse triggers, which you don't have on the regular Ally.
Yeah.
And of course, with that, you get some of the force feedbacky stuff that you wouldn't have got previously. Again, another fantastic little addition.
All right. The stream is lagging at the moment. You are cut off. Let me see. Am I still online? No. Damn it. Okay. I don't know if.
Hi.
Hi.
Blue screen.
Oh,
Blue
okay.
screen.
Blue screen on your end. I thought it was me again.
Blue screen again.
And
Yeah.
damn it. So you're on your phone now.
Temporarily, yes. I'm
Temporarily.
restarting the computer now.
Yeah.
So I'll be back on. I mean, I don't know how long we've got left, but we'll be back on the computer momentarily, and then I will switch back over.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, in terms of, I think the physicality of it, the way it looks, the way it probably feels in comparison to the Ally X, and everybody knows who owns a Switch knows that ergonomically it's not the most comfortable thing to be holding on to, which is why a lot of people get attachments for it, so it feels like a controller grip as opposed to the Switch. I think ergonomically it looks a lot better than the previous one. Like I say, the UI is significantly better. They've trimmed down the Windows fat, so I'm super happy about it. The only thing that I'm not happy about at the moment is that rumored 900 price point.
Yeah. So Rave Demos in the chat says he expects the base Xbox Ally to be at 600 and the Ally X at 800. I think that would be a much wiser decision. I mean, 800 is for the Ally X, which is the one we are all going to get, right? Is still a hefty price point, but at least it's not so close to the 1000 mark. But yeah, I'm also very excited for the thing. I am looking forward to the new Windows version. Like I mentioned previously, I like the upgrades. 24 gigs of RAM is fantastic now to have. A terabyte of SSD is also very good because my OG Ally still has 512, and then you have like only 380 or so left. Left for games, right? That's 3 big games, and that's about it. So the 1 terabyte SSD comes in pretty handy. I'm very excited for the Z2 Extreme because it not only packs more power, but it also requires significantly less energy, and that's probably one of the biggest issue that the current PC handhelds have, that after an hour of gameplay your battery is dead. So a good power bank becomes your best friend when you play with the current with the current ROG Ally on the go. That is fantastic. Like you said, the ergonomics, having basically a proper Xbox controller attached to a screen is fantastic. So all that sounds super promising to me. I'm excited for it. I cannot wait. The one thing I would love to know, though, and this is maybe just a me thing, but since all PC handhelds right now run or boot up in the regular Windows desktop, the way how updates are handled are horrific, right? You get your usual Windows updates, of course, right? But then you gotta upgrade the Armory crate, and they release an update like every week or so for that, which is good that they are supporting it like that. But then you gotta do a Windows update once or twice a week. You gotta do Armory crate update. Then you gotta go into the My Asus app and upgrade the drivers from AMD, right? Manually, every single thing. On the current ROG Ally, they have like at least once a month, a BIOS update. You do that. And this is actually one thing that is super annoying about this, because your handheld is not in standby mode like your console, where you just update those things, right? And your desktop PC is on way more often, and you just, while working, you just install the latest NVIDIA driver update or whatnot. And this is very different in a PC handheld. You turn that thing only on when you want a game. And then every time you turn it on, you gotta update something. Either the driver, or the armory crate, or Windows, or this or that. And this is super annoying. And I do hope that this issue is going to be fixed with this new Windows version. That there's one accumulated update that updates then everything. And I do not have to separately install driver updates and Windows updates and everything. But this is one thing that SteamOS is doing really well. If there is an update, it updates with one update everything, just like on your console. You do not update on your console separately your library section, and then you did the driver and then the OS, but it just installs it while being in sleep mode. And you never notice when there is an update, right? And this is very different on handhelds, and that's why it's so important to have a proper update management. And I do hope that this is something, because they haven't talked about that yet, yeah. But I do hope that this is something that they will fix with this new Windows Xbox gaming version, the Windows Lite version, whatever it's going to be called. The full-size, full-screen experience, or I don't know what they are going to call that, man. But yeah, overall, I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the ROG Ally, Xbox Ally, and I'm definitely going to get one. Are you standing on getting one?
Yes, I'll probably get one, but I don't think I'll be getting one at launch. I'll probably be getting one next year. Mainly, and this is the same reason you're not getting a Switch yet, I don't have a current overriding need to have one this year. So I don't have big travel plans. And the reason I get handhelds, for the majority, the reason I get handhelds is for travel. The occasional little thing in the house. But for me, if I'm going to be doing big games like you do on the ROG Ally, you do like some of the bigger games and that you can play, some of the bigger releases. If I was doing that in the house, I wouldn't be using the ROG Ally for that. I'd be using my ROG Ally.
See, I thought
Xbox
the same thing
for travel, as opposed to in the house.
I thought the same
because if I'm
thing.
in the house, I'll just come into this room.
Yeah.
I'll sit my arse down, and then I'll play on the Xbox or the PlayStation.
You sound like me before I got the ROG Ally. Yeah, I was always like, hey, when I'm at home, I'm just going down into the man cave and play some games here. But now I've come to enjoy the beauty of big AAA gaming on a handheld while laying in bed. Yesterday evening, my wife was out with the girls. You know, it's super hot here. I sat down in the backyard, played some games there, played Kingdom Come Deliverance there via console streaming on the Ally. It was perfect, man. And if you have the option in your hand to really just pick up the game where you left off on the console on a handheld, and we're talking every game you play right now, right? Like, I'm playing Kingdom Come. I played South of Midnight mostly on the Ally. I played Assassin's Creed Shadows mostly on the Ally, and so on. And not just for travel reasons, but for convenience while being somewhere else in the house, in the backyard, in the front porch, wherever. You know, it's different when you have the option. Trust me, man.
But I don't have an overriding need for it yet. And again, and I suppose there's another thing as well, with the Switch being what is now probably half the cost of a ROG Ally X, was another reason.
Yeah, but you cannot play the games you are playing on your console on that thing.
Nah, but I did actually need a Switch more than I needed a handheld gaming computer.
It's just because you don't know the beauty of it. But I'll get you there. I'll get you there.
I'm not saying I won't get one, but I'm just not this year when it releases in the winter.
Yeah.
I'll pick one up at some point next year. I will pick one up, just it won't be straight away.
Yeah. We'll see about that. All right, Dutch. Let us talk about some of the aftermath of all the game announcements at the showcase.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about this? I mean, we got some additional infos, right? On some of the stuff that has been shown. Of course, Gears Remaster, for instance, the beta this weekend. Yeah, people are actually playing it now. We got new infos there. Outer Worlds 2 had an additional Xbox podcast where they also talked a lot about the factions and the companions and so on, and we learned more about that. We learned that the Indiana Jones DLC that is coming, Order of the Giants, is going to play in Rome. Yeah, we learned that Final Fantasy 16 is not providing the same resolution on Xbox than on PlayStation.
No.
Yeah, Beast of Reincarnation. Remember the game from the Pokemon devs? It's going to be a Souls-like game. Yeah. We learned that A Blake's Tale Legacy, the Resonance, is not featuring rats. Yeah.
Nope.
We learned the Blood of the Dawnwalker gets a 45-minute live stream on June 21st. We learned all that stuff in the aftermath. So, anything you want to touch on there? And how are you generally feeling that a week after this, we have not heard or we have not seen during the showcase outside of Clockwork Revolution, which was game of the show, absolutely, no doubt. But other than that, we have not heard anything about the heavy hitters. We didn't see Gears, we didn't see Perfect Dark, Fable, State of Decay, Everwild, and so on. None of those games have been there, right? So a week after, you had time to digest, learn a lot more about the games they've shown, mostly second or third party games. And how you're feeling about not having many first party games there?
Still like I did the other day. I think it was relatively average, but I understand why they've done it now. I mean, if you have a look at the amount of actual first party games that they're releasing this year, it's sitting at 9 by the end of the year. That's not including remasters. That's not including Gears Reloaded. That's not including.
I think it's 12 actually.
12 in total, yeah. But if you exclude Gears Reloaded and you exclude things like the remasters of older games, that have been brought out, like Tony Hawk's
and Oblivion,
yeah. If you take them out, you've got 9 new games this year, 3 older games that have been remastered, like Oblivion, like Tony Hawk's, like Gears Reloaded. So you've got 12 in total from Xbox.
Yeah.
9 on new games. I can't really be upset with them, but it's just as a fan wanting to see those games and thinking, oh, you could have at least showed with this. You could have done this. And it's only because we had such massive showcases last year and the year before, and even the year before. It was like continuously getting better and better and better. And we're like, oh my God, like, how can you possibly get better than this? And then you understand, of course, next year is the 25th anniversary and they want to have lots of big surprises next year. So they've mentioned a new Forza, your Gears, your Fable, potentially Halo. So all the big staple IPs are coming back for the 25th anniversary, and that's not including potential other surprises in there next year that we're not aware of yet. Littler games. So yeah, it's one of them things. It's kind of a bit disappointing that they didn't show us more of the games we wanted to see. Still perplexed from some of the studios that said we would see the games that we were going to see and then didn't turn up. Like Everwild, as an example. Still not seeing Contraband is just bewildering at this point. I don't even know if that game exists, or at least will release. So yeah, it's a little bit obviously a minor disappointment, but grand scheme of things, I mean, it is just non-stop with the game releases this year. Like,
It is.
not even if you could have the entire year off to play the games, would you be able to keep up with the amount of game releases, and be able to keep on top of them? So yeah, there's a lot to take in, but overall, that's still an average showcase. I'm not complaining about their output this year because they're smashing it out the park this year.
Yeah.
And next year's going to be massive again. So, yeah.
Yeah, you summarized it pretty well. It's hard to complain when the games delivered this year are that good and that many, right? It's not just that we get a ton of games, but we actually get real quality games. Avowed was fantastic. Loved it. South of Midnight, really, really good game. Doom, The Dark Ages, super fun game. Fantastic. The Oblivion remaster was more like a remake and was fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? I played the demo of Tony Hawk. That game is gonna be fantastic. Yeah. Gears.
I played a bit of Gears. I played a bit of Gears Reloaded beta the other day. Actually, there's one thing I forgot to talk about.
How did it run?
Silky smooth. It had some I wouldn't say some server issues, but it had some lobby issues. Of course, being a beta, trying to find people playing solo was nigh on impossible because everyone kept quitting out every time you got a full team, or you'd get to just before launch and then people would get bored of waiting, so they'd quit out and then it would start you all over again.
Yeah.
But when you joined with a team, so we had 4 people playing. When we had a team of 4, it was finding games pretty much straight away. And it was buttery smooth. It felt like Gears. It ran as good as I remember it running. It looks a little bit crispier. It's going to be probably a better judge of playing it in single player to see where the differences are in graphics. In multiplayer, and I don't know if it's just me nostalgic wise, but I always remember it looking this way. And unless I see like a side by side, I'm probably not going to really notice the difference.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because these maps are always imprinted in my head anyway. So I'm like, oh, well, it looks the same as it always did.
Like when I played Resident Evil 4 the remake, it was really well done. But in my head, it always looked like that.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It is
like,
so weird. Like this. And if you see, of course, it doesn't make sense at all. Your rational thinking obviously tells you, man, it always. But when you think of Gears back in the time, it blew you away. It was visuals like you've never seen before, and that's why you remember this as the best looking game ever, right? And then you play it like, what now, 15 years later, almost 20 years later, you play it in a remake, and you just think, man, it still looks fantastic. But if you see side-by-side comparisons, obviously you're gonna notice, yeah. But man, coming back to the actual point, the thing is, this year they can absolutely get away with such a showcase where they have not shown any of their heavy hitters. Again, outside of Clockwork Revolution, because I think that game is going to be one hell of a heavy hitter. Because they are delivering game after game after game, and great game after game after game, right? I cannot wait for Keeper. I cannot wait for Outer Worlds 2. This is truly a fantastic year for Xbox. And so they can get away with a showcase that doesn't blow our socks off. It was still a good showcase. Outside of Clockwork, obviously the highlights for me, because we've seen Outer Worlds 2 before. And I thought it would have been more than enough to show another trailer and be done with it. We didn't really need the developer direct after that. But Resonance, a Plague Tale, the Plague Tale game, right? Something I'm really looking forward to. I cannot wait to see in 6 days actual continued gameplay for Blood of the Dawnwalker. Yeah, it's exciting to me. Keeper is not going to be a massive game. This is obviously going to be more like an indie game, but is something I'm intrigued about, right? I'm looking forward to the Indiana Jones DLC, my game of the year of 2024, right? Gets a new DLC. There has been good stuff in there, without a doubt. But it didn't feel like a real Xbox showcase. And you can also tell from the discourse after it on social media channels that everyone talks about the handheld, the ROG Xbox Ally. That's the big talking point. Barely do I see anyone talk about any of the games that they have shown. And this is, so for me, I stand by my 7 that I gave it directly after the show. It was a good show. It was nothing that blew your socks off. It didn't really feel like an Xbox showcase. For that, it would have needed a Gears or Perfect Dark or Fable or Forza or Everwild or State of Decay 3 and so on. But the one thing is for sure 26 Dutch is going to be an even crazier year for them. Because almost every game that we just mentioned is most likely coming out next year. They already confirmed Gears, they confirmed Fable, Forza, and we all know it's going to be Halo, probably a Halo remake for the 25th anniversary. But other than that, we still have games like A Perfect Dark and A State of Decay 3 and so on. Clockwork, right? It's all those things. Not every one of those games, but some of them will also make it to next year. And this is going to be an absolutely insane thing. And one last thing on that, Dutch, from my side. With 25th anniversary next year, and it being the year 26, and them probably launching the next gen in 27, I also believe that we will see next year a teaser for the new hardware, because they've teased the Xbox Series console a year before launch, the Scorpio almost 1.5 years before launch, and them then introducing, okay, this is going to be what the next gen Xbox is going to be like. It'll run Windows, and it will be the one console where you can truly play anything. There will be backwards compatibility, but it will be Windows based with our new Windows Lite version and everything. They will announce that, and then they can show off the games like an Elder Scrolls 6 and so on, running on that at higher settings, either on that machine or on settings that are close to that. And so it makes for them so much more sense to really bang out a hell of a show next year with gameplay for Fable, with gameplay for Gears, with gameplay for Forza and everything else, which they were probably not able to do this year, to show Gears, for instance, with gameplay again. Yeah, and the next time they show it, they need to show gameplay for all those games. So, yeah, I'm fine with it, especially given that Xbox is spoiling us with games this year. But as a showcase, it was not their best. It was an okay show. It was a good show. It was nothing that blew my socks off.
Yep, completely agree. It's a good show, but nothing that wowed me. And I still stand by my point about the end show being far too long and not needing it.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Dutch. Let us bring this part of the show to an end and move over to the community questions. Usually we put up posts on Wednesday where people can write in on Twitter, on YouTube, on Blue Sky, everywhere we are. People can write in questions or topics. We did do that on Wednesday because we intended to do the show on Thursday. Then we had technical issues and we had to move it to Sunday. So I put up a poll yesterday again. But I have kept, of course, also the community questions we got on Wednesday. So let's get to them, man. Rave Demos writes in and says, "Hey, Boxy and Dutch, with Xbox Play Anywhere getting front and center treatment at the showcase, it has me wondering and optimizing games for PC. What advancements can we anticipate to make optimizing games for various hardware configurations easier for developers? Happy Thursday." So, do you want to go first? Shall I?
This is where I've always laughed at the rhetoric that certain consoles hold back gaming, because on PC, up until very recently, where there's been minimum demands that have far exceeded, and only for some games, minimum demands that have far exceeded the lowest denominator. 9 times out of 10, the lowest common denominator is PC.
Agree.
That's not even Switch included. That's not Xbox Series S included. Not even Series X included. 9 times out of 10, the lowest common denominator, when you look at the required specs or even the minimum specs, is PC. Mm-hmm. Still, some of them require a 1080 or below. Some of them not even that. There's some games that I see even now requiring a GTX 970, which is like God knows how long old, like decades old.
Yeah.
So no, it's, I always call it logical fallacy, because yes, the only thing that's more difficult to develop for is whatever tool set that these platforms have in order to put their game onto their platform, as opposed to making that game run on the platform. So yeah, I think the Play Anywhere thing, anyway, it's nice, but essentially you're not getting the same version of the game on both. You're getting a PC version on PC and you're getting the Xbox version on Xbox. They are two different versions.
Right now they are, but I think in the future they will move away from that, because there won't be a dedicated Xbox OS. The next console will most certainly run on that Windows version that is now coming with the,
which is why I think they brought back the
next iteration, of course. Yeah. And so his question was, what advancements can we anticipate to make optimizing games for various hardware configuration easier for developers? It'll be just like today on PC then. There will not be a dedicated console version anymore for the games. The developers will not need to optimize for an Xbox Series X2 or whatever it's going to be called, right? It's just going to be the PC version, and these games have, like you said, always been built and will continue to be built with scalability in mind. And we will see a lot less talk about those things that are console specific. Yeah. We have PlayStation is doing that right now with PSSR, very console-specific technology. Things like that will not be in need anymore in the next during the next Xbox console generation. Next question comes in from Cyril A. He says he actually wrote in German, so I am going to have to translate that on the fly. He wants to hear our opinion on the following things. We didn't see State of Decay 3 during the showcase. Why do we not have a really, really fantastic AAA zombie game which puts its focus on survival and PvP? The day before was super hyped and very high listed on Steam in the wish list, right? DayZ is still having tons of fans today and gamers, but why is that genre not as present as it could be? Because obviously there's a big market to it.
Sorry, that was a bit of a long-winded question. What was the ultimate?
The ultimate question is, why do we get so few AAA zombie games that put their focus on survival and PvP? Like DayZ did many years ago and still is enjoyed. And remember the game?
Yeah, DayZ, Tarkov. Obviously, Tarkov's not zombie, but it's a survival game in the same kind of breath. I think ultimately, if you did that in AAA, and it sounds stupid, but if you were to release DayZ at AAA quality with AAA price tag, it wouldn't sell.
I agree. I think AAA development cost is so high, and especially if you go like massive open world survival game with PvP aspects and everything, and running the servers, that is so expensive. And I think probably there's just no business case for it. State of Decay 3, you can argue that it's going to be significantly better quality, no doubt. But will it still be considered AAA?
I'd say it was AA.
Exactly. I think a lot of people would consider it still a AA game, right? Maybe we're doing the game not justice, but this is just my feeling. Doesn't mean it's
The
bad
biggest AAA
I loved
zombie.
State of Decay 2.
The biggest AAA zombie games. Wouldn't even say the survivor games, but the biggest AAA zombie games are Dying Light and
Resident Evil.
Not even zombie games now. Dying Light and Days Gone were the biggest AAA modern zombie games now. But even then, like you said, Days Gone was a story zombie game. It was fantastic. It had the horde zombies and everything, and that could have been something bigger. But it's an example of a AAA zombie game not doing well. Even if you made it even bigger and you added proper survival mechanics in there, it wouldn't have done well.
Yeah.
DayZ is essentially an MMO, a live service game without the microtransactions. That wouldn't do well on console. In fact, I don't think it has done well on console. It's been in Xbox Game Pass for God knows how long now, and I haven't seen anybody playing it.
Yeah, but it still has player numbers. But I agree with you.
But no one on my friends list is. I mean, literally nobody that I know of has played DayZ on console, despite it being on console. I never see a single person, and I have hundreds of people on here that play the most random ass games you could possibly imagine, and not one of them played DayZ.
Yeah.
So I just don't think there's a console audience for it's a big AAA zombie game.
Yeah, agree. UA Marcus GB writes in and says, "Good evening, Mandarin Gordy and Xbox Burger," with a smiley. "I hope you gentlemen are very well. My question is, do you consider the ROG Xbox Ally X to be a proper Xbox? Yes or no? Thank you and keep up the great podcast." Well, I think we answered that already, right? Since everything is an Xbox now, you can argue all day long, but at the end of the day, you will not be able to play your console games on the ROG Xbox Ally. And for that, I think it's too early to call everything an Xbox.
Yep, I agree. Because it's just not. It's not fully to the point where you can play everything on the handheld. You can't play everything on the handheld. You can't play all of your games on the handheld, so it isn't an Xbox. It's most things that come out going forwards will be able to play on the handheld.
Yeah.
Xbox.
Yeah.
But it's not. We can play everything you've ever owned on this Xbox handheld Xbox.
I mean, even with that and the push of Play Anywhere being there front and center, and I love that. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be mandatory to have Play Anywhere across all platforms, by the way.
Mm-hmm. I agree. If your game is available on console and PC, then it should be you buy it once, you get it both places.
I agree. That should be the standard, but we are so far away from that. Even with,
I think the issue with PlayStation doing that as well is they still don't have their own storefront.
Yeah. True. But
I mean, there'd be not much on it if they did release one now.
Yeah, there's
a bit of 10 games.
It is. I know people will come at me and show me the list of games that have been shown at the Xbox showcase. The 20 or 25 games that have been there have all been Play Anywhere, which is fantastic. But the harsh reality is, out of the 1,000 games that come out this year, not even 100 are Play Anywhere. This is that's the harsh reality. So we are still so far away from Play Anywhere being the norm, right? Borderlands comes out, not going to be Play Anywhere. Mafia comes out, not going to be Play Anywhere, and so on. We are still far away from that being the norm, unfortunately. So, yeah, I don't consider it an Xbox, but I consider it a fantastic device to play in the Xbox ecosystem. The Big Bridge writes in Dutch and says this: "Hey, Boxy in Dutch, I wish you a happy and fun-filled weekend. As I'm traveling in the mountains, so I'm unable to join live, my question is influenced by it. What's your favorite mountain in a video game? Have a happy stream and see you next week." So, Dutch, I have never thought about mountains. Favorite mountain in a video game?
Let's just go with God of War scaling the mountain to scatter the ashes mountain.
I mean, a very memorable mountain was in Skyrim, where you fought the Elder Dragon.
Is that your favorite mountain? I mean, I don't enjoy remembering having how many steps we had to climb to get up there.
Good point. Very good point. In general, I hate mountains when you need to reach a mountain top in games and you have to look for a way how to get up there, and you walk around the mountain 3 times before you find the little path that goes up there. I'm not a fan of those mechanics in games. So
I also don't like it where games put mountains in just as the borders of the map. You think, oh, I can climb this. You can't climb this.
Yeah, true.
That's where the game ends. You're not able to get up there. This is all just for show.
Yeah.
Much like a lot of the mountains in Horizon Forbidden West and Horizon Zero Dawn are just for show.
Yeah. So I can't really answer the question. I don't really have a favorite
The God of War mountain for me.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna copy that just to be able to answer the question after all. All right, Dutch. That brings us to the end of this podcast. As always, it's been an absolute blast. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who tuned in here live with us today, for chatting with us in the chat. But of course, also a big shout out to everyone who listened after the fact, either here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are listening. A big big thank you.
Big welcome to everybody. Starting all over again.
We're starting all over again. Oh, it's getting late over here in Germany. We are closing the show now. No, again, a big thank you. A big shout out to our channel members who do support the channel and the work we do here. We super appreciate that. Of course, we will be back next Thursday at the regular spot, not on a Sunday. But that's before we let everyone out. Let everyone know where they can find you and what you've coming up, man.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere at Wondering Dutch or Wondering Dutch X, as you can on X. As I've mentioned, though, I don't really post that much on there at the moment, if at all. So, yeah, you can find me pretty much everywhere else, if not here on our usual times, which are Thursdays. Obviously, we'll have to see how big or if there is much news for Thursday this week. Especially after doing one on Sunday.
Yep.
But we'll keep you in the loop anyway. Or you can find me over at Wondering Dutch's channel for the midweek mix-up when I do one of those as well. But yeah, of course, I haven't really streamed much recently, but I haven't been in the mood to stream. I've just been focusing on the spare time or the relaxing time that I have had just to actually playing games. So, so yes, but yeah, hope everyone has an awesome evening and see you all again next time.
Yeah. So again, also a big thank you from my side. We intend to be back on Thursday. Until then, I do hope you guys are gonna have a great start into the week. We see you guys around, and don't forget to game on.